Once upon a time, all the continents of our world were one, and it was said that the breeze in the world flowed to a magical place. This was the ancient realm of the Light and Shadow Emperor's floating island, protected by the Emperor's immeasurable power.
The Emperor walked quietly among the citizens, and despite his silence, they were happy to meet him. On dark days, the Emperor's gaze would focus on bright lights, while on bright days, it would linger on the shadows of the citizens. This peculiar gaze of the Emperor made the citizens feel a mixture of curiosity, amusement, and fear. The Emperor's dream. One day, an inexplicable sign manifested as the Emperor drifted into sleep, and the air around him began to distort. The citizens lingering nearby grew alarmed by the unusual phenomenon surrounding him. The Emperor felt pain in his dream. For reasons unknown, his power had changed, and he dreamed of destroying the island and the citizens he had long protected. In the dream, he lost control of his light force, unleashing it in a devastating burst that set the island ablaze. His body, now cold and lifeless, transformed into a massive meteor that crashed down, crushing the island under its weight. The impact unleashed a colossal inferno that engulfed the island in flames once more. The terrifying nightmare he had endured had shaken his unshakable faith in his abilities to the core. When the Emperor awoke, the world around him remained peaceful, save for the anxious citizens nearby. Yet his heart was unbearably heavy. How could this be? He pondered. My powers of light and shadow crumbling, turning into an unknown, terrible meteor. What does that mean? What was the meteor I became, and why did I do such terrible things in the dream? These unanswered questions remained, casting a shadow over his once unshakable confidence. Driven by a foreboding sense of impending doom, the Emperor sought guidance to uncover the meaning of his dream. To find answers, he decided to consult the primordial beings of the earth. First trial, wisdom. The Emperor called upon the spirit of wisdom and humbly sought its counsel. "What troubles you, my friend?" the spirit of wisdom inquired gently. The Emperor replied, "I fear that one day I may lose control over my powers and harm those I hold dear. The thought alone fills me with dread." The spirit of wisdom regarded him thoughtfully, its timeless gaze filled with understanding and curiosity. The spirit of wisdom replied, "Seek the shadow in your heart. All the answers lie within." The Emperor frowned in confusion. "I am the bearer of the powers of light and shadow, yet you tell me to seek a shadow within myself? I cannot understand." The spirit of wisdom offered no further explanation. She disappeared with a faint, enigmatic smile, leaving the Emperor to puzzle out the mystery on his own. At that moment, the Emperor's uncertainty dimmed his light, causing it to flicker. Meanwhile, his shadow, now cold and heavy, began to be consumed by doubt and anger. "This cannot be. This is impossible," he muttered, trying to dismiss the turmoil within him. But the more he questioned himself, the more his doubt and anger grew, spreading like a dark flame through the depths of his soul. The balance he had always maintained between his light and shadow was now precarious. As his anger and doubt grew, the Emperor recalled his conversation with the Spirit of Wisdom. Determined to calm his mind, he decided to observe the earth around him, hoping to find the answers he sought. As he wandered,
he came upon a willow tree swaying in a violent storm. Its straight, rigid branches snapped under the pressure of the wind, while its curved, flexible branches bent and held. The sight struck him deeply, and at that moment, the Emperor gained clarity. He realized the futility of clinging to doubt and anger, and he turned his back on those feelings altogether. With this decision, his powers stabilized and balance was restored. More importantly, he understood that by embracing both strength and flexibility, he could transcend his current self and reach new heights of mastery. For the first time, the Emperor saw the potential for growth beyond his fears. The second trial, pride. Having escaped the shackles of doubt through the earth's wisdom and the willow tree's resilience, the Emperor was overjoyed. He convinced himself that his nightmare was nothing more than a fleeting vision. Feeling reinvigorated, he decided to address his citizens, breaking his usual silence after a long time. "My beloved people," he proclaimed, calm and proud, "my powers remain unchanged, and they will continue to endure. Look at me. Do I not still embody the perfect balance of light and shadow, a harmony I share with all of you?" The Emperor's words were confident, but beneath them, a seed of pride began to take root, one that subtly tested his humility and understanding. But the more the Emperor basked in his pride and proclaimed his greatness, the weaker his light became. His warmth faded, and his once vibrant energy grew cold. Slowly but surely, fragments of his power began to transform into tangible pieces of the meteor from his dream, cold and lifeless. These fragments hovered ominously around him, a chilling reminder of his nightmare. But blinded by his pride, the Emperor failed to grasp the significance of what was happening. His citizens, sensing the shift, watched with growing unease as the balance they once trusted began to unravel. Finally, the Emperor was forced to confront the truth hidden in the depths of his shadow's power, a truth he had long ignored. There he saw the embodiment of his frailty and arrogance, stark and undeniable. The realization struck him with profound force, and he was left in a state of astonishment. How could he have been so blind to the flaws within himself, hidden behind the veneer of his authority and balance? This moment of clarity shook the very foundation of his pride, leaving him humbled and introspective. The third trial, despair. Faced with the tangible reality of the nightmare he had once dismissed, the Emperor was overcome with fear. The earth trembled, storms raged, and chaos mirrored the turmoil in his heart. In this tempest, the spirit of hope appeared before him, radiating calm in the eye of the storm. Desperate, the Emperor cried out, "Help me! I have lost the trust of my people, and now I am about to lose all my power." The spirit of hope looked at him with steady eyes and asked, "Why are you so desperate?" "Your people have not forsaken you. It is you who have forsaken yourself." These words struck a chord within the Emperor, forcing him to reflect on the true source of his anguish. It was not the trust of his people or his power that had slipped away. It was his own belief in himself that had faltered. With newfound clarity, the Emperor's powers stabilized once more. He felt the quiet strength of humility and the uplifting warmth of hope take root within him. These virtues filled him with a surging courage that dispelled the lingering fear in his heart. Now, strengthened by his journey through wisdom, pride, and despair, the Emperor was ready to face the shadow within himself, a part of himself he had long avoided, but could no longer ignore. The final trial, the sacrifice. Though the Emperor had stabilized his powers, the turmoil he had experienced had left an indelible mark on his kingdom. His people, reflecting their ruler,
began to suffer from the same confusion and nightmares that had once plagued him. The harmony of the realm teetered on the brink of collapse. During this chaos, the spirit of courage appeared before the Emperor, comforting and challenging. I still sense that your unbridled passion continues to test not only you, but your people, the spirit said. Tell me, Emperor, what are you doing? The Emperor replied resolutely, I fight for my people. The spirit of courage looked deep into the Emperor's eyes, searching for the truth behind his words, and asked, if you fight for your people, are you prepared to make the ultimate sacrifice for them? Are you prepared to give up your strength and even your identity to restore balance to their lives? The Emperor stood silent, the weight of the question sinking into his heart. The path ahead was clear, but it demanded a price greater than any he had ever faced.
My beloved people, the Emperor declared with a voice both solemn and resolute, I cannot directly aid you at this moment, but through my small sacrifice, I shall give you the time and space to face the trials I have endured and gain the wisdom I have learned. May my journey light the path for your growth. With those parting words, the Emperor summoned the full extent of his power. In one final deep breath, he released it all, his form fading into the ether like a gentle wind.